Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. We're going to take our final 150-day post-release look at March of the Machine Aftermath booster box sales off a TCG Player. Now these are the non-collector box, but not the draft box, because you can't draft with them. They're just boosters. In the whole pre-release period and up to 150 days post-release, it sold a total of 1,868 boxes on TCG Player at a total of $118,000, giving an average box sales price of $63 per box over the whole period. And what to compare it against? Of course, Unfinity, previously the worst performing product that we have since we started collecting data using this tool. And of course, Unfinity on the cumulative spend basis out to 150 days of its draft boxes outsold March of the Machine Aftermath by right at a 3-1 margin. And you've really got to think about what goes into creating this Aftermath set. Now, we can assume that all of the cards that were actually in the set were just left over from designing March of the Machines. Maybe March of the Machines looked like it was going to be a particularly fat set, or maybe after they cut down to the final set of cards that would be in March of the Machines, they said, well, we still got these, 50 cards that are pretty good quality that we believe in, that we would like to use, and a lot of them are flavored around this story, and so they had the harebrained idea to create March of the Machine Aftermath as a micro set. But you have to consider that they still needed to do other things like design the packaging, the artwork for the packaging. That's something you have to do for an expansion. No matter how much you print, you have to design that packaging. But then also the booster box packaging needed special dies to cut it because the boxes were a different size. When you go to actually manufacture the product, you still have the same costs of artwork and film and plates and press setup time in order to produce the product. Now, the amount of time you need to run the press is cut down because the print run is smaller. But then you have to retune the machines to these ridiculous 5 and 6 card booster packs. So the actual stuffing and sealing machines for the booster packs had to be set up for this instead of maybe continuing to run at the normal 12 or 15 card packs that they could have been running at from the previous thing that had passed through them. And so just because the set was 1/7 the number of cards as a normal set does not mean that WotC got by with only spending 1/7 the sunk cost on development and manufacturing of this. In fact, it would have been much higher than that. So they really did not realize probably meaningful economies of scale on making a small set. And yet you see how little money it took in. I would not be surprised if you could get into the actual inner books of WotC that you would see that this set lost money for the company, just because you would have had so many of those upfront costs that do not scale to the size of the set or the print run, and yet the sales were so meek of this. But you have to think, why did WotC do this? Were they just, harmlessly experimenting with micro sets and kind of trying to shake up the meta of standard and, see if they could kind of do something cool like that? No. The reason they did it is because at the wholesale level, the price per card was 2 or 3 or 4 times as high as a normal standard set. And so the amount of money that they got for the cardboard, which was much higher, the margins were much better. That's why they attempted this, was to see if they could get people to pay even more money for less cardboard. So it's appropriate to be cynical about this set. It was a dumb idea. It was poorly executed. And in the grand scheme where Magic as a game is lying on the emergency room table being worked on by a whole host of doctors right now, this was not really something we needed to experiment with at that time. And so hopefully we never see a return to this kind of thing. And something I've always said was there is a place for micro sets, and that place is to do a little kind of shake up of the meta in standard. Maybe 6 weeks after a standard set comes out, do a microset just to give another little kick to rustle up the meta of standard. But it only makes sense if standard was functioning correctly, if standard was as popular as it has been at times in the past, and if WotC was really managing things, designing sets, performing the R&D effectively like they have in the past, but they're not doing now. And so right now, this kind of thing serves no purpose. And hopefully, in the future, one day, we could get standard, we could get magic, we could get WotC, all three of them back to the places where they needed to be, where this would be a cool idea. But right now, it was just dumb as hell, and I'm glad it failed. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and continue joining me on Final Trade. Thanks a lot, guys.